Kia ora koutou, Markie here. So, once again, forgive me for pointing the camera at my computer screen and that horrible jazzy effect that you get, and please look away if you are going to get, if that's going to trigger migraine or epilepsy or anything nasty. The reason I'm showing you this screen is this follows on from other videos, previous videos, so it would make sense if you watch those other videos first, and I will link them, or I'll put them all in a playlist together. Maybe that might be the easier way, so you can follow the previous videos. But basically, I've been discussing in videos who my ideal target audience is, who are the people that would most enjoy my content. Because my style is very unique and not for everyone. So, but it's going to be attractive to certain people. You know, and what I wanted to know is there a kind of a demographic or a personality type that is more likely to want to watch my videos? So you might say kind of crazy people, so I had some discussion around that in some videos, and one of my YouTube friends, who I'll link again in the description, show her channel some love, suggested that the people that like my channel might fall into a particular group as defined by the Myers-Briggs personality test. Okay, so the Myers-Briggs personality test, just again in a nutshell, because I talked about this in other videos, is based on the theoretical work of Carl Jung, who I'm a big fan of. So he was a guy that gave us introvert and extrovert, gave us things like archetypes, the collective unconscious, all that kind of stuff. And I've done some of the videos on him. And she suggested I was a certain personality type, which I haven't got that written down in front of me. Sorry, got it here. She suggested not that I was a certain personality type, but that my viewers, so in other words, you, might be an INFJ. Is that right? I think I might have got that wrong, actually. I'll check that and I'll put that in the description box as well. So I thought, well, the people that like my channel are likely to be people who are like me, so I will do the test. And I just happened at the same time to come across somebody recommended, it was somebody else on YouTube actually, one of the people that run channels on autism, and I can't remember who it was, so apologies for that, recommended this source, idrlabs.com, for an autism personality test. Look at the state of my computer screen. It's horrible, isn't it? That's because I burn all this incense and it creates all this ash and dust and it gets on the screen. So I looked at them and their tests, and I'll show you a bit later. They do a phenomenal amount of tests, and some of them are kind of proper, validated academic screening tests for certain conditions like autism, ADHD. Bear in mind, they're screening tests; they're not diagnostic. So it's something that a clinician might use to help make a diagnosis, or it's used. So what screening means is, I think I've got ADHD. But I don't know. You would start with a screening test. That's a good place to start. And if you score really low, then you probably haven't got it. You don't need to worry too much about it. If you score quite high, then you might want to go and see a professional clinician and get a diagnosis. But there are also some of them that are kind of quite kind of just fun tests as well. It's like which Harry Potter character are you most like, and it's got them all. It's got the side by side, the real kind of cutting edge academic ones and some of these fun ones. But there's hundreds of them on there, some quite interesting ones. So I did a few actually, but I won't go into all of those. That's not that exciting. I did the ADHD one and the autism one. And it was interesting, actually. The ADHD one, it doesn't just say, oh, you're likely to have ADHD or you're not likely to have ADHD. It breaks down the kind of the core domains of, what makes up ADHD, and then gives you like a graph, a score for each one. And that was very interesting, actually. That told me something useful. I did an IQ one as well. Because I'm dyscalculated, because I got anything to do with numbers and my brain just doesn't process it. It's kind of a bit confusing. I think, well, does that mean I'm low IQ? Because obviously I'm going to I'm not going to be able to answer any of the maths related questions. In terms of language, I presume, higher than average intelligence, probably got quite a high IQ in that respect. So do they balance out? Does it mean a low IQ? Does it mean a high IQ? So I did an IQ test. If you want to know about that, then let me know. I might do a video on it, but I wasn't planning to. So I did this test. So this is me. This is based on my answers, okay? But the logic of this is that the people that like my channel are likely to be people who are like me. So I'll read this out to you. Does this describe you? And do you think this describes me? You probably don't know me well enough to know if it describes me. You might have a sense from my videos if you watched a few of them. So idealistic, imaginative, and passionate. Yeah, go along with that. You have a strong sense of your personal values and ideals, and you tend to feel ill at ease in situations where you have to compromise these ideals due to external demands. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because you think, isn't everybody? But then, yeah, maybe not so much some people. Some people will do anything for a bag of chips. You are very sensitive to the dictates of your own imagination and conscience, and by default, you dearly want to give others space to be who they are. So that's interesting. So it's like recognizing my own uniqueness, just in the way that we're all unique, and by extension recognizing other people's uniqueness. Give people the space to be who they are. Yeah, I like to think that I do that. I'm tolerant and accommodating. That we're all different. There's some things that I'm not very tolerant of. I'm not really tolerant of racism. But I'm broadly tolerant. Thoughtful and considerate. You most likely find it easy to accept society's eccentrics and misfits without rendering judgment. Well, I am one of society's eccentrics and misfits, for sure. So I feel a kindred spirit with other misfits and eccentrics. And this kind of ties in with what I've said about neuro, that I think my channel would appeal to people who are neurodivergent. And generally misfits and eccentrics are neurodivergent. Open and tolerant. You dislike prejudice and stereotypes. Yeah, that's true. I hate ignorance, basically, and misinformation, and just when people make certain assumptions about kind of certain people in society, and they say, oh, people like this are always like that, and especially things like paedophilia, or people have an attraction to children. For example, I've done videos on this, is that the research indicates that more people who actually sexually abuse children are not paedophilic than are paedophilic, which is mind-blowing. If you think about how people talk about paedophiles, and people use terms like, oh, he's a convicted paedophile. Okay, so there are but what we know is there are lots and lots and lots of people who have an innate attraction to children, and who choose not to act on it because they know that any sexual activity with children is harmful and should not happen under any circumstances, and they remain sexually abstinent in order not to harm anyone. And by sexually abstinent, I mean they're not looking at what the public calls child porn, but what people like me call child exploitation material. So they don't look at that. They don't harm children. They keep themselves away from risk and trigger if that's an issue for them. And there's organisations like virtual paedophiles and things like that. But you get a lot of prejudice, particularly because the way the press promote things like this, or no, not promote, but the way the press cover things like this is it's more interesting to do a story on somebody that's very predatory and has abused hundreds or even thousands of children over a lifetime, and that certainly is something that has happened and does happen. But most sexual offending is things like people abusing their stepchildren, and and that's done by people that don't actually identify as paedophilic, for the most part. But if you talk to, if you go look in the comment section of an internet group, or anything like that, then you'll get things like, oh, every paedophile is predatory, and what's the word? Cannot be, and will always be predatory. Nothing will make them stop apart from death, or castration. And you get these kind of extreme views, and they don't match up to the research. The research says something completely different. So it's like, when we have knowledge, when we have research, when we've studied something and we know shit, it really pisses me off that people go around, thinking that their opinions are facts. And recycling other people's opinions, which are untested and inaccurate. In this age where information is so easily available, there is no excuse for being ignorant. Now, maybe you have good reasons and a good rationale to argue with the findings of research. In which case, if you state your reasons and your rationale and your logic, then that can be a conversation. But making statements like pedophiles are all predatory, they will never stop, all the stuff I've said basically, which aren't based on fact. Okay, now people always misread it when I say things like this, and they think that I'm saying it's okay to abuse children. I'm not. There's no circumstances when it's okay to have any kind of sexual contact with children through deeds or even words. Okay, it's never okay, and I'm certainly not condoning that. And I think I'm a big believer that therapeutic approaches can be helpful for people who are sex offenders. There's evidence to suggest that works, but I'm also not saying that it's an alternative to criminal justice. I'd say it runs alongside criminal justice. So I'm not advocating for people that commit a crime against children to go unpunished for that crime and go through a softer option of therapy. I think it should be both. And usually that is what happens. So only thoughtful and considerate, blah, 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 blah. So that's just an example, really. Dislike, prejudice, and stereotypes. Yeah, stereotypes, you see. I don't mind accurate stereotypes, as long as you know it's a stereotype. I think stereotypes can actually be quite useful, as long as you recognise the limitations, you don't get lost in them. And you are sometimes liable to give people the benefit of the doubt in situations where they think that you should know better. Because of your idealism, you may sometimes neglect to give yourself enough credit for the things you accomplish, or to speak up for yourself in relationships and groups. Your challenge in life is to balance authenticity with practicality and find a way to be true to yourself and yet live in harmony with the world around you. Yeah, you can't go through life, with waving placards all the time. You just kind of exhaust yourself and piss everyone off, really. So what do you think? I think that kind of describes me. I think that describes some of my autistic characteristics as well. I think often autistic people can be quite idealistic, and of course, non-autistic people as well. I'm not saying exclusively. So INFP. I think P is perceiving. So is that you? If you're my audience, if you like this channel, does that describe you? So let me know in the comments if any of this kind of fits a description of you, if you identify with this group. But of course, rather than just go on your what you think about that, you could do the questionnaire. You could do the Myers-Briggs questionnaire, which is on this website. Now, I don't get any commission from them. I've only just come across them. As far as I know, they're legitimate. They seem to, in the description of each, let me get back into tests and I'll show you the different ones. So random test, ADHD test, empathy test, ethno test, poo test. Anger test, gender test. So they do seem to be very clear in the descriptions whether something is a bit of fun and whether it's scientifically validated. So obviously, like the Harry Potter Hogwarts test, you know, that's not going to be based on years of university research. So it's just for fun test, but popular. And it goes on and on and on and on. It took me ages to get to the bottom of this. So I did a few of them. I'm going to do a few more actually, because and the ones I did seem to make sense. They asked the right questions and they came up with what seemed like the right answer. So yeah, so I don't get any kickback or anything if you visit this group. It's if you need to kill some time, wow, it is a wonderful way to kill some time, you know, because it's quite fun doing these things, isn't it? And often they're quite quick as well. You know, you're not spending hours doing these things. They're quite snappy and they give you an instant result. And then I think what they do as well is in some cases they say, well, if you upgrade and pay, we'll give you a better, you know, a more in-depth result. I think they do that, but you don't need to do that if you don't want to. So there you go. What do you think about that? Hopefully that's interesting. And if you do visit this site, let me know what you think of it, because I spent a bit of time on it today when I should have been doing something else. So I don't think they've got a pathological demand avoidance test on here, but there is one available online. If you want me to steer you in that direction. Yeah, let me know. And Rangimarie.